I just love the way you put things so clearly, so succinctly, and they make you think. So, guys, all of you out there, I encourage you, go to DennisPrager.com, check out his columns weekly and read them. Sign up for PragerU. You can get alerts right on your phone. I do. But you're going to grow a lot wiser by listening to this man and by reading his material. But one of the things, or your column this week, is entitled The Age of the Absurd. And so I wanted to talk about that. I actually did a podcast on this very column this week. But you talk about how the West has gone through many eras, the so-called Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the Age of Reason, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Age, the Postmodern era, and the present era, which is the Age of the Absurd. Did you believe at any point in your lifetime, and I know you've been fighting the culture war, the religious war, the encroachment of the left or leftism into religion for quite some time. Did you ever believe that you would be seeing some of the things that you are seeing today, Dennis Prager, including men give birth? Did you ever think you'd see this?
Well, not exactly, but generally, yes. What's not well known is that when even as long ago as when I was in graduate school in the 1970s, I was taught absurdities, and in fact, one can find on the internet one of my columns titled "How I Found God at Columbia," and it was the one great epiphany. I never had a theophany. God has never directly appeared to me. But nor do I lament that. I get God through the Bible quite directly, but He's never appeared to me. But I got an epiphany, a sort of out-of-body realization. I couldn't believe the amount of absurdity I was hearing at Columbia. I'll give two examples. I was being taught that men and women are basically the same, something I knew to be literally absurd. Even at the age of 21. And I was being taught, because my field was international relations, I was at the School of International Affairs, that America and the Soviet Union were essentially morally equivalent, and which is as absurd as men and women are the same. Everything was the same. U.S. and the Soviet Union were the same. Men and women were the same. Everything's the same. And I couldn't believe that such intelligent people, as many of my professors were, in fact, were teaching me nonsense. And I got my answer, which was life-changing, a verse that I had learned in Jewish school when I was in first grade, came back to me for the first time since first grade in Hebrew, and it's from the Bible. Wisdom begins with fear of God. And then everything became clear. There's no wisdom at Columbia because there's no God or Bible at Columbia. And that really set me on the course of my life. The fight for wisdom, which is not possible. No secular institution produces wisdom. The reason universities are so out of their minds is because they're so secular. The most secular institutions are the most absurd. Every one of these idiotic ideas comes from the university, the most secular of our institutions. There are individually secular wise people, but there is not a single secular wise institution. And that's why I'm not shocked, although I admit that the manifestations, men menstruate and the like, that or that you will tell 5-year-olds that they choose their gender. I mean, we have gone over the cliff, really, and that's what this piece is about, the age of the absurd.
There's another number 4. I'll just skip along here for the sake of time here. You mentioned racial segregation is anti-racist, and opposition to racial segregation is now considered racist, which is completely crazy. I remember years ago I was working in my yard and some kids walked by and there was a black young man, a white young lady, a white kid, and an Asian kid, all walking together. And it just struck me I sat there and I thought, we made it. We're over this race nonsense. And then Barack Obama enters office, and it felt like things started changing pretty swiftly. But your take on racial segregation is now anti-racist. Opposition to racial segregation is racist.
Yes, so Columbia University, the wasteland that I attended, but it's much more of a wasteland today.
Wow.
And they have an all-black dormitory and an all-black graduation. And that's considered anti-racist. But if you oppose that, you're considered racist. So that's I'm just giving an example of the many that there are, of the absurdities.
Sure.
And the scandal that liberals vote for the left. Liberalism, which I was raised with, one of the central tenets was racial integration.
Yes. One of the things, or what I love about the column, and again, you offer plenty of examples of the absurdity of the left, but I like the fact that you do offer the examples of how absurd they are. And I think that people need to take them on, the left, if you will, in this manner. I don't mind mocking the left. I went through this entire column on my podcast because I feel like the left deserves to be mocked. I don't believe that we should take them seriously in the public square. And I think that we should go, and when I say we, I mean the conservative movement, I mean people of faith. I think we need to go on offense on these particular issues because they're just complete and utter nonsense, and they're destroying the country with these moronic thoughts, in my opinion. You got a minute left.
Yeah, that's it. My favorite verse in the Bible, which is, of course, my favorite book, is those of you who love God must hate evil. It's not always translated correctly because Hebrew has a command form in verbs and English does not. But that's what it says. It's a command. In other words, if you don't hate evil, you don't love God. And there are too many religious people who think that hate is always wrong, and the Bible tells them that they're wrong.
I love that. There's another verse that says, hate what is evil and cling to what is good. It's one of the verses that I absolutely love as well. So anyway, Dennis Prager, listen, I know that you have to get out of here. I'm going to call you Dennis. This is going to come as a shock to you. I know that you have to get.
It will come as a shock. I've asked you to do that for a year or two now. I just want everybody to know how much I adore you. You are a gift to this country.